The NFL playoff picture is locked in, and my go-to place for wild card round action is DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off the road to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat bet each day of the wild card round this weekend. Just place any NFL bet of your choice, and if it loses, you'll get a free bet backup up to $10. Action so good, why bet NFL playoffs anywhere else? I really enjoy using the DraftKings Sportsbook app. It's easy and everything is at your fingertips. And all you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code SOTS. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL and get $200 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Once again, use the promo code SOTS. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. And if you or someone you know that is dealing with a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be assessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You have Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. Yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Thank you to everybody that's here, those that are filing into the chat, those that are watching this live, because this is indeed live on a Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing the State of the Saints podcast to be a part of your listening pleasure. Before I get started, we got some a little bit of some news that I want to let everybody know about. The State of the Saints podcast, unfortunately, will be no more, and it's not a bad thing. Okay, I have decided that I want to expand the State of the Saints podcast, the SOTS brand itself, and it's now going to be known as the State of the Saints Podcast Network. So as of today, starting today, we have the State of the Saints Podcast Network. And with that, I'm asking people to bear with me. This page will no longer just be exclusive to the State of the Saints Podcast. No, this page itself that you're probably watching this if you're on YouTube, or you're watching this on Facebook, or you're watching this on Twitter, it's going to be more content, more podcasts that are going to be available to you. Now, I know some people may just want to roll with the State of Saints podcast. That's fine. But we want to be able to give other people options as well. We're not going to just be covering the New Orleans Saints with the State of Saints podcast. We're going to be doing more NFL. We're going to be talking about boxing. We're going to be talking about NBA. We're going to be dedicating a podcast to that. And, of course, the Therapy Couch podcast, the promo that you've seen at the beginning of the show, will also be available on the State of Saints Podcast Network YouTube channel that we're on as of today. So more content, State of Saints Podcast. The show itself is not going anywhere. So I don't want to get there, let everybody know. I don't want anybody to get worried about that. OK, it is still going to be here, still going to be available. But we're just going to be putting more content up that for people to enjoy. And I'm going to be starting with just 2 other podcasts, but I'm pretty sure that I'm probably going to be putting more podcasts out there in the future, and probably going to be working with certain individuals that might have aspirations of starting a podcast of their own. But that's going to be later on down the line. I'm going to be focusing on this podcast as well as the other 2 that I'm going to be, reeling out. It starts this weekend with Wild Card Weekend, the NFL podcast that we're going to have. I'll premiere that name of that show on tomorrow. That's going to be focused on the NFL. And, of course, the Therapy Couch podcast is going to be back this week. So keep it locked right here to the State of Saints Podcast Network, and we'll have so much content for those. And once again, like I said, I know some people just want to hear Saints news, and that's fine. I have no problem with that, but want to be able to expand, because I said this before, there's so many layers to me as a broadcaster, as a podcaster, as a person. And there's a lot of things that I want to talk about, and I know there's a lot more things that you all can talk about. So just want to give you all more options to choose from and more content that you can enjoy. So just wanted to go ahead and let you all know about that. And hopefully some of you, take part in some of the podcasts and programs that we have available here on the State of Saints Podcast Network. All right, but let's go ahead and talk about the topic of conversation. Let's talk about what we need to discuss. All right. Coach Dennis Allen. It looks as if, the New Orleans Saints are going to bring him back again in 2023. It's quiet around the home front. I think that, everybody has, got their stuff and they moved their stuff out the locker room. And, a couple of days have went by. The New Orleans Saints got embarrassed by the Carolina Panthers, losing by a score of 10-7 in Week 18, the final game of the season. And it just left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. I don't know how we watched this team the entire season, watching these guys wet the bed game after game, and for this game to just sting the way that it does, I think everybody should have been surprised. They shouldn't have been surprised at what they saw, but we were. And, you look at this team, and I'm very, very concerned about the New Orleans Saints going forward. I know there's a lot of people out there that's defending Dennis Allen. A lot of them are inexperienced Saints fans. And what I mean by inexperienced Saints fans, I mean those Saints fans that don't know anything outside of Sean Payton and Drew Brees, but they want to give you a history lesson about what the Saints need. Like, no disrespect to anybody that's in their mid-20s, early 30s, but your judgment is skewed a little bit. Unless you're like a huge historian of the New Orleans Saints, you really don't know where this organization has been. Like people my age and people a little bit older understand. And we know that the New Orleans Saints organization was trash. It was bad. It was terrible. It was not good. And we don't want to go back to those situations. See, they're looking at, Sean Payton didn't always have a good record. Sean Payton wasn't always a good coach. And they're comparing him to Sean Payton, which is absolutely laughable, because you're basically putting Sean Payton's lowlights up against Dennis Allen to make him match up, which is the whole point, right? In order for you to make Sean Payton compatible with Dennis Allen, you have to bring out the lowest points of Sean Payton's career, which is a 7-9 record. But if you look at Sean Payton's overall record, right, in his first 4 seasons or his first 5 seasons with the Saints, he still won more games than Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen has yet to produce a winning record at any coaching stop that he has had. But yet you have people out here trying to defend this dude as if it's worth defending. Like, I don't understand that. It's like comparing Greg Oden to Michael Jordan, right? Well, Michael Jordan couldn't get past, and you start talking about how Michael Jordan in the 80s couldn't get past the bad boy Pistons. Like, but he won 6 championships after that. That's kind of like what it, like people, it's amazing to me how people can can find ways to make their argument compelling, but when you peel back the layers, they're not saying anything at all. Like the fact that you're comparing Dennis Allen to Sean Payton is a joke. And when you start doing stuff like that, it just tells me that you don't know anything else. We see the writing on the wall here. See, this is deeper than just, it's just Dennis Allen coaching. See, what people don't understand is when you have a losing culture, when you have a losing franchise, nobody is going to want to deal with a losing franchise. So if you have a guy that is in free agency that can come in and contribute to your team and be impactful, they're not going to be interested in coming here because they feel like they don't have a chance to win. Unless the New Orleans Saints are going to replicate 2017 for the next 2 to 3 years and producing hot, fresh, athletic talent like they did in 2017 draft, then the Saints can find themselves like being one of the worst teams in the league going forward, because there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, that is appealing for a Dennis Allen led New Orleans Saints team for anybody to be interested in. Like, if I am a free agent, if I'm about to test the market and I'm a wide receiver, like, I'm not interested in coming to the New Orleans Saints, even though they need a wide receiver, especially if they decide to move on from Michael Thomas. But when I look at, okay, even if they get a quarterback, I've watched the New Orleans Saints, even if a guy has certain talents, they ain't utilizing it. They nickel and diming guys to death. I'm watching Alvin Kamara, who has been one of the best premier running backs in all of football, running and catching the ball out of backfield, become a mere shell of himself under this regime. I watched guys who were making plays last year don't even see the field. I'm watching defensive linemen who are known for getting sacks or getting close to double-digit sacks, not doing anything at all. I'm watching a running game who didn't give up a 100-yard rush in almost 2 years get gashed week after week. So these are the things that we're looking at. See, people just think, oh, man, you know, we are going to be okay. Are we really going to be okay? Especially in modern day NFL, in modern day football, when a lot of these guys, they want to be courted like they're in high school, going into college. Like you seen like the OBJ thing. A lot of these guys, they want to be courted, wine and dine. And if you can't match up, then more than likely you won't be able to get the free agent that you seek. So that's the biggest concern that I have, that nobody under Dennis Allen in the way that the Saints have been playing would be interested in coming here. And people can talk about, well, you know, as long as you got the money. No, that's not true. People want to win. People want to win, especially like if you get drafted by a team that was picking in the top 5, they were losing year after year after year, and you start to get 27, 28, and you start looking your football immortality in the face, you like, man, I want to go to a contender. That's why I have absolutely no problem if Cam Jordan, news come out and said that he wants to be traded or he wants to be released. I don't blame him at all, because you don't have time to be trying to wait for the New Orleans Saints to figure it out. I mean, that's the way that I feel about it. Nobody is going to be interested in coming to New Orleans Saints to make this team better. So you better have a really good front office, and you better have some really good coordinators on your staff if you are going to get yourself out of this situation, because you're going to probably have to do it with guys that you select in the draft. And you may be able to get, you know, a free agent or two, but hopefully they'll be able to pan out like, you know, Demario Davis did. He wasn't a a top free agent that was out there, but you signed him and he became one of the cornerstones of the team. I mean, the odds of that happening again are slim to none. There's a reason why, he's a guy on a very short list of individuals that have come in and have made an impact right away. I mean, him and, Darren Sproles, guys like that, right, have come in and made an immediate impact and really ingratiated themselves in the Saints culture and in the community and everything else that's going on. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But I'm very concerned about where this team is going under this guy. I mean, it's just that simple. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I know I said quite a bit. Thank you to everybody that I see a lot of people that are commenting about the changing of the State of the Saints podcast to the podcast network. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate that. And I hope that I get all of your support. Barbara says, I was proud of my Saints after their 9-8 season last year. I'm just disgusted this year. Yeah, that's because they took a step back. And even though they were 9-8 and even though they lost, I want to say 4 straight games, they didn't look as terrible as they do in certain games they have this season. Like this season, it just seemed like they were just out of place. It seemed like Dennis Allen in most of those losses was getting out coached. And also down the stretch, he wasn't making the right adjustments. You didn't say that when Sean Payton. Like Sean Payton, they just flat out lost. Like they just lost because it wasn't because of the game plan, it was just the fact that you had a lot of injuries and a lot of things that you were dealing with at that particular time. So, you had to try to make it work the best way that you can. But here, it's like the Saints would be winning games. They would be imposing their will. It's clear that they look like the best team on the field that day, and then they'll just flat out lose. And you can't do anything but chunk that up to bad coaching. That's just the way that it is. I say this every year. January is always the Saints' worst nightmare. Yeah, I mean, look, for the last 2 seasons, the Saints haven't made the playoffs. And I just think that we, as a fan base, need to come to the realization that we're not among the best teams in the NFC or the NFL anymore. I hate to admit that, but that's just the truth behind the matter. Like the way that these guys have played, the only way that you feel like the Saints aren't like one of the bottom that they're not at the bottom of the NFL is the fact that it's just your fandom. But if you're looking at it from a reality standpoint, like they're not one of the best teams in the league because they continue to find ways to lose. And good teams or great teams don't do that. They handle their business and, they don't let bad teams or mediocre teams, hang around and give them hope around the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, right? They just, the good teams or the great teams go in and impose their will. And they leave very little thought that they're not one of the best teams in the league. We watched that on the national championship game, right? I mean, Georgia didn't waste no time slapping around TCU. Like they wanted to make a point, and they did. And that's what great teams do. Just that simple. I was at the game. Thank God I only paid $9 for it. Well, I mean, if things continue to go the way that they have been going, Lord Nixon, you're going to be paying $9 for the rest of this next season because ain't nobody going to want to be there. And they're going to have to find ways to try to fill up the dome somehow. And the best way you can do it is make tickets reasonably priced. In some ways, I'm glad the game ended the way it did so we as the Who Dat Nation don't turn a blind eye to the trash season we had. Yeah, because you had a lot of these, man, I'm going to just call them trolls because I really just don't feel like anybody that has been following this team can really honestly believe that Dennis Allen has a place as a head coach of the Saints. Like, I don't understand like how anybody can like honestly believe this. Like this dude has had 4 seasons, right? He's had 4 seasons to prove that he is a good head coach, right? Right? He's had 4 seasons. He had 4 seasons, and he has a record of 15-37 or 15-38. So the way I look at it, like you are who you are. Like it's like a guy who, is like Ben Simmons. At this particular point, he's not going to be able to be a 3-point shooter. He's probably always going to struggle with free throws. That's just the way that it is. And when you look at Dennis Allen, I just think that they're trying to make him something that he's not. And he's not a good head coach. I mean, it's just going to come a time. Like, it's going to come a time that you're going to have to make tough decisions and nip and tuck games. And I just feel like he's always going to find himself on the outside looking in. I mean, he coaches desperately. If you look at his press conferences are more like not giving you information, but more so like trying to convince the front office that he's doing a good job, right? Like, if you listen to Dennis Allen and the way that he speaks, it's almost like he's trying to convince them, like behind the scenes. It's like he's trying to like send a message, like he's not really talking to us. He's mostly talking to like Gail Benson and Mickey Loomis and them. Well, we did some really good things today. We ran the ball pretty well. We didn't, get the results that we wanted, but, we did some really good things. Andy looked pretty good. It's like he's trying to convince them that, okay, we lost, but, we had some good things going over here. Like when they win is like I don't know, man, he too animated about the wins. Like, even though they look like hot garbage the whole game, like, I don't know, man. I've seen games where the Saints win and then Sean Payton go to the podium, you'll think they lost because he wasn't impressed by it. But with Dennis Allen, he has this whole, I take it any way I can. We've been losing, so, let me go ahead and get this win and go up here and grandstand a little bit so they can see, I'm good at coaching. Look, we won the game. Like, if go back and listen to like his press conferences, and you'll see a lot of the things that he says, is not really towards the fan base or even towards the media itself. It's like he's trying to prop himself up, or if something goes awry, it's like he trying to make an excuse for it to say, it was out of my hands. It's almost like when he had a press conference a couple of weeks ago. I'll say a couple of weeks ago, but one of those press conferences, and he was like, we'll be a better team when we get Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas back. But as you can see, it took weeks after that for Michael Thomas, who'd never seen the field, and Jarvis Landry to come back. So it's just stuff like that. It's like you basically were saying like, oh, it's not really our fault. Like, my hands are tied because I ain't got Michael Thomas or Jarvis Landry. Like, just that type of stuff right there. I just don't think that's like winning mentality. Like, a real head coach is not going to be sitting up here talking about what they don't have. They're going to want to go to war and, what they do have, and not going to make excuses afterwards like he does. Like, he doesn't, he's very unapologetic about the way that this team is looking. And it seemed like to me, like, even though, most of the time when things are going bad with a team, you're supposed to look at the head coach. And it seemed like to me, like, he don't even want anybody to look at him. It's like, oh, it ain't my fault. Look how good the defense doing. Well, the defense does look good, but that's not the only thing you're supposed to be doing. Like, if the team looking bad, that's a reflection of you. If guys are undisciplined, that's a reflection of you. If guys are not calling the right plays, that's a reflection of you, because you need to understand situational football, even if the people on your staff don't. So, but like I said, if you listen to the press conferences, it's not for us. It's for the Saints Trust. Dennis Allen is 15-38 as a head coach. That's horrible. Some people just have to realize that he's a good DC, not a head coach. Like, I think that a lot of people just think because he's good at defense, and that's the reason why they feel like they should be rolling with him. Like, it's more than that. If you were just a defensive coordinator, we wouldn't even be having no problem with him. Like, we'll be big up in D8 because he's a really good coordinator. He knows defense. He's really good at that. Nobody's going to say anything, but you are a head coach. So when people start talking about, well, the defense did this, defense did that, like, that's not the way it worked, right? It's almost like, oh, I'm a CEO of a business. My office is clean. Can you smell the Lysol when you first walk in? Do you see how clean my desk is? But then when you walk out the door, they got trash all over the floor, papers from faxes all over the place. You got, the break room got old, noodles in there and stuff like that, and old food people used to eat. Like, you concerned about how your office look, but this is your building. So when somebody actually walks in and they see, your name on top of the building, and you're on the top floor and your office is clean, I mean, they gonna look at the entire building. Your office is clean, but the entire building, like, what does that smell? That's like, what is that? Old bananas? Like, what are we doing here? Like, you can't just focus on one particular part of the organization. You can't just focus on one side of the ball. And I just think that some people don't understand it, or they just fail to understand that, or you just got people who just want to go against the grain. Like, there are real legitimate contrarians out here. Like, people will look at a bunch of people in agreement and be like, you know what? I think things need to go this way. Yeah, you're right. And then all of a sudden, like, they spending like 5-10 minutes trying to think of something they can counteract that, even though in the back of their mind, they feel like, yeah, it's probably not the right thing. But that's how people do it. Like, because they realize that contrarian behavior is the new wave, like going against the grain, like making statements that can be considered unpopular opinion. They feel like that would gravitate to them, because all of a sudden, when a person strolling and they see something that just completely outrageous, then all of a sudden, like, they'll stop and just want to make a comment about it. And they realize that's going to gravitate and draw people to what they're actually doing. But there's no way in the world like a person can convince me that Dennis Allen is a good coach. And there's nothing about Dennis Allen that deserves us even believing that he's a good coach. And, people have this hope and all that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering, like, is this actually legitimate, like, feelings that they have, or is it something that they just feel like is going to give them attention? Because, I mean, their talking points just makes no sense. Like, you basically have to suspend reality in order for you to make Dennis Allen a better coach. Like, he's not a good coach. He's not. I think Dennis Allen is a great fit for the Saints. Jameis Winston should be the starter quarterback, Buck Nation. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do if you're a Bucks fan. Like, I would want Dennis Allen to be the head coach of the Saints too. It comes down to situational coaching of halftime adjustments, and DA has proven he doesn't check off those valuable boxes. When we talk about a head coach, he's not built or made to be a head coach. It's not in him. I just think when it comes to halftime adjustments, they're non-existent. I don't see adjustments. Like, do you see adjustments? I'm just wondering, like, do you see adjustments? I don't see any adjustments. What I see is a guy who comes out with a game plan in the first quarter. Game plan ain't gonna lie. In the first quarter, for most games, their game plan looks really well. Like, Andy Dalton comes out there, he's looking good. Running game looking good. Offensive line looking good. But then when it's time to go in the locker room, those 15 minutes when the other team is making the adjustments, it seems like to me, I don't know if they grandstanding or they eating, they trying to, eat bananas and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and stuff like that in order for them to, not cramp up and nobody's listening to anything. I don't know, checking phones. I don't know what the heck they doing. But it just seemed like to me, like that old classic interview after that Arizona Cardinals game, it just seemed like he just saying, keep doing what you're doing. And they don't make any adjustments. And then all of a sudden you see them struggling and trying to hold on to a lead for dear life. And if that defense slips up at any time, like, I don't know, give up a big play or something like that, the offense does not do anything. They cannot move the football. They cannot make plays. They play not to lose instead of playing to win. I've seen very few games where the Saints actually played to win. I only seen one, to be honest with you, and that's the Raiders game. What game can you really point to and say that the Saints played to win? Maybe week 1 against Atlanta? I mean, you probably can. I mean, they were very undisciplined during the game versus the Vikings. I mean, I guess you can probably throw that in there, but there were very few games that the Saints actually played to win because they're a scared franchise. They're very, very scared. They're very, very cowardly, the way that they approach the game. Like, the Saints approach the game like a guy who hits somebody in the face and runs. That's how it is. Like, walks up to a guy, swow, punches him right in the face and just start running down the street. Like, that's what it is. And the guy start chasing after him. You just hoping that the guy don't catch you. That's what the Saints do, right? They throw the first punch and then they get into the fetal position in the corner and just try to absorb the kicks and the punches. Like, tell me, am I wrong? But I'm gonna go ahead and open up the phone lines, man. I'm gonna open up the phone lines here today. I want to hear from you all. What do you all think about the Saints 2023 season? What do you think about Coach Dennis Allen? What do you think about the Saints going forward? All right. And also, if you have any questions for me in regards to anything else, just go ahead and put it in the comments. I already think I put the link. Did I not? Okay, maybe I didn't. Put the link down in the chat here, and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, I'll read some more of your comments. It says, hell on no. I don't see no adjustments in the second half at all. Each and every game adjustment is non-existent. Even when we are winning, I still don't see adjustments. Yeah, I don't either. What I see is a team that just trying to hold on for dear life. That's what it is. Quinn, how you doing?
What's going on, Level?
All right, man, what you got for us, man?
So, my whole thing about this whole thing is, first of all, he do need to get on. That's for facts. Two, my thing is, one of my biggest problems with bro is when something works, he don't stay with it. If you paid attention to all the games we've been having, right? The ones when the people that it's hard. Let me see how I explain it. The people that step up, he don't use them. Like with the Rashad dude, you see how late how long it took him to keep using him until he started realizing it was working. Stuff like that, stuff like that little stuff right there is the problem. You get what I'm saying? You don't use Alvin that much this year at all. You didn't use the man as much. You didn't really let him do his thing at all. You really didn't give Jameis a fair chance to really do his little thing. You should at least, I felt like at one point you should at least let him come back and at least try one game or at least a quarter or something so he can at least do something. I think what happened this year, I think the team gave up on him, not on us. You get what I'm saying? I think it's one of those situations, just like how the Nets was with Steve Nash. Like, they just wanted him gone. Now they could start winning. You get what I'm saying? I feel like it's one of those situations where he needs to go because he lost the locker room, basically. I think he lost that locker room, and I think that made them not play the way they should have been playing. Because at the end of the day, we still have the top defense. You know what I'm saying? Our defense not trash. It's just our offense wasn't finishing. And the offense wasn't finishing because a lot of times it was actually the play calling, the people he put in, and how he moved it. He didn't manage time correctly. It's a lot of things he did so much wrong where it's like, bro, you have to. If they keep this man, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know. If they keep him, I don't know. I don't think I can watch next year. Because it's like, to be honest, I feel like all the games they won on their own. They didn't win with him. Just like you were saying about the Falcons game. That was not nobody but Jameis. That was literally his game at that. He literally turned that game up the way he did. He did. The defense, it was the defense and Jameis. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like all the games they won, it was all based off of the team, not him. I feel like he's not, like you said, he don't take chances. He's too conservative for me. He need to, especially this era of football, you can't do that no more. This is a fast-paced game. You got everybody running around. You can't be trying to play too slow. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's like now. If you look, it's so, I've been frustrated this whole year. I've been waiting to call him. I ain't want to call him in no time until the season was over with, because at first I thought we were going, I ain't going to lie to you. Until we lost that other game, I thought we were going to get in the playoffs. I was like, we're going to get in. I still want him fired, though. I ain't going to lie to you, but I just wanted us to get some playoffs. But at the end of the day, man, I just feel like we just need to get a new head coach, get somebody else that can have that team doing what they doing. I feel like they just need somebody that's going to allow the team to be what they are. He's not using them, and he's not letting them do what they do, and that's the biggest problem. That's why I feel like everything is going the way it went. It's because of him. He's not a good coach, and we all see it. Stay in the back. That's all. I feel like any other coach we get, we're gonna be good. Just because they need to just I think people don't realize how much of a culture the Saints have on its own. I feel like they built the bigger culture so much that I felt like he was one of them people be in the background. Like when Sean Payton was coach, he'd be like, "Oh, I want to do that." You know them people. That be in the background hating on you when you doing something. You and then they get a chance and they don't do it. That's what I feel like he was one of them. he ain't doing that right. I don't like this. I don't like that. Now you need to stay in the back. Just be assistant, cuz just do what you do. You're a defensive coach. That's all you need to be doing.
Well,
But
I think the thing about it, Quinn, is I think when it came down to it, I just think that he wanted to instill a little bit of his own little spin on it. You know, like people, I mentioned this. You have a lot of individuals that don't really know life outside of Sean Payton. You know, like for 15 years, he was the head coach. For 15 years, they did certain things certain ways. So I just think that he wanted to put his stamp on the team. I think that he had good intentions, but I just think that later on, we all realized that one, he's not Sean Payton, and two, he's not an effective coach. Like I think that you can have him on the sidelines, and I think that in times he can do things and he has like good qualities. But when it comes down to it, when it matters most, I just think that you're going to continue to have the same things happening over and over again. It might go away for a while, but eventually, you know, it's going to rear its ugly head, and that's what happened in Week 18. Like, look at it, like it was the same recipe that has gotten them beat in a lot of these nip and tuck games, that could have got them into the postseason. So I just think that it's going to continue to be that way, no matter who you put into this situation. Like, you could put a bomb offensive coordinator out there that can come up with all these different offensive concepts, but these teams in the NFL are really, really good, dude. So there's going to come a time where you might be putting up a bunch of points, like the game versus Seattle. The Saints put up some good, a lot of points. But at the same time, Seattle was right there with them, right? The defense wasn't effective, and it's going to come down to you making the right decision. And as we can see more times than not, he didn't. And I just think that that's where we're going to be at. So I just don't understand, like, what did they see from him?
Because I think,
like, just make it a no-brainer.
I think it was because,
like, if you look, even if they said this, and I'll let you speak, man. Even if they said this, like, man, we might just want to, you know what I'm saying, see what's out there, talk to somebody or something. And then they come back into it and be like, you know what, I think we're going to retain them. But it's like, it's a no-brainer. Like, this man, like, has confidence on Monday morning after an embarrassing loss like that. So somebody told him, they had to tell him this weeks ago. You can say that they said that after the game, but the way that they have approached this and how everybody just all quiet and stuff like that, you don't really hear nothing from anybody. It just seemed like to me the Saints care too much about saving face, about their reputation, and also saving the face of these coaches when they don't even deserve it. Like, seriously, too many people care about other people's feelings, man. You can't be like this. Not running an effective business and not running an effective football team. Period. You got anything else?
I think if the right player say something, he gonna be gone. I think it's just one of them situations. And the only reason why they brought him and they let him be there in the first place from the beginning is because they thought he was going to keep that tradition alive of he know how it run. And that's why I was like, that's the problem. That's why we lost. We was losing the way we was losing. And it's crazy because if you think about the games we was losing, you like, bro, we should have literally won these games. Most of the games we lost, we should have actually won. We literally beat ourselves, literally. And it's all because of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, that's why it was so sad to really watch this season, because it's like they not even losing the way you would be thinking they losing. Like, they really not losing bad. You'll be thinking they losing about 20 or something. Like, these folks not really losing that bad.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, honestly, you got to give him props with this, is because his defense, turned the corner, and they were playing really, really well. But all I'm saying is, it's gonna come a time when we were talking situational football. Come a time when you will have to make a tough decision, and that decision is going to be the deciding factor if you win or if you lose. And more times than not, the decisions that he makes down the stretch gets the Saints beat. But Quinn, I got to go ahead and go, man. I got to I got to get to. But thank you so much for your comments, man.
All right, bro.
All right, take care. Yeah, I mean, look, Quinn made some good points. I just think that when it comes down to it, you can't care. You cannot care about people's feelings when you're trying to build a good, successful football team. And I'm just like, the only way and the only reason why I feel like the New Orleans Saints are retaining Dennis Allen is because of his ability to be able to coach defense. And bear with me, okay? And now I'm going to get to Barbara. The Saints realize that no matter who the quarterback is, right? If you go out into free agency and you sign a quarterback, or if you get a good trade for Sean Payton, let's just say you draft a young, quarterback that you think is going to be the future of the franchise, they're going to need to rely on a defense in order for them to, learn and adjust and build, because they're going to make some mistakes. Even if you bring in a free agent, that's probably going to be a completely different offense that you run it. So you're going to have to rely on the defense. But to me, look, I'm not in that business. I'm not in a business of keeping somebody around because they got that particular quality. Like, still, what are you doing? Like, at the expense of what? Okay, you bring this guy in. Okay, you have a bomb defense. You giving them opportunity to develop, but it's still going to come a time when you're going to have to make these adjustments. Are you going to, bring in a coordinator that is going to, be conservative, just like you, have your same type of mind frame? Is he going to be Pete Carmichael 2.0? Or are you going to allow this individual to go out there and ball out? It's times where the Saints need to push the football and they still being conservative, trying to nickel and dime it. It's like the down the field don't even exist. It's ridiculous. It's like down the field doesn't even exist. Like, the type of game it's going to be. Like, if a down the field play isn't put into the Saints' first 15 scripted plays, probably not going to happen for the rest of the game. So I understand, like, probably why they feel like, okay, we're going to bring back Dennis Allen, because no matter who we bring in, we need our defense to be on point. But I still feel like you're going to have the same results because, like I said, it don't really just come down to the way that they're playing. It's about making these adjustments in certain situations, and they have not been able to do so. But we're going to go ahead and go to Barbara. Barbara, how you doing?
I'm good, TJ. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for calling in. What you got for us today?
I have some words.
Mm-hmm.
And the first two are distance and dishonesty. When I'm watching Dennis Allen interact with his players, I feel like, or it looks like to me, that there's a certain distance between him and them. And I say that because what it feels like, I don't feel like that this man is down here in the trenches with me. Okay. And the dishonesty part, take how he dealt with Jameis and his injury. Okay. How can anybody trust you if you're not going to tell the truth? First, if you're not going to tell the truth to them. Next, if you're not going to tell the truth to the people who support you. Okay. The next two words, security and safety, which is how they decided to choose their head coach. There was never any competition. Dennis Allen was going to be head coach, and that's just the way it was. The safe thing to do. And that's the way they played all season. The safe thing, the secure thing. Okay. Instead of taking those chances that you need to take, those intangible things that you need to do in order to win a close game. Okay. And trust. Trust. We all, if we're going to all be in something like this together, we all have to trust each other. We all have to trust that each of us is doing our best. We all have to trust that the man up at the top is doing the best he can for this team. And that was not evident this season.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. And, I'm going to tell you, like, when I think about it, like, I guess hindsight is 20/20, but when I think about it, there are certain decisions that were made. I have to say that we kind of should have saw the writing on the wall. And one of those decisions were the co-defensive coordinator thing. Now, I know people don't want to look at that. I mean, they're like, oh, both guys are good, but your inability to make a decision. And why didn't you make that decision? You probably didn't make that decision because you probably didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings or make somebody feel some type of way. That is what I'm saying. Like, when you're trying to coach a football team, when you're trying to run an organization, you can't care about feelings. You can't care about those type of things. And I also feel like when he goes to the podium, he's not holding guys accountable because once again, I'm a first-time head coach. I want these guys to play for me. So even though this guy goes out here and he fumbling the football, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say, like, those are things that we just can't do. No. You got to have like that same energy. I don't know if you saw this, but Sean Payton was on the show with Kay Adams. And I think Mark Ingram came on there. And he basically told him, he was like, you and Alvin, stop fumbling the football. And he kind of got like taken back by it. But you can see in Sean Payton's eyes like he was really like serious about that. And he didn't care about how he felt about it. And I just think that when it comes to Dennis Allen, when you look at him, I mean, he goes to the podium, it just seems like he doesn't want to rattle the cage or hurt anybody's feeling. So if you're going to continue to be like that, I just think that you're giving people grounds to push and run over you. And I think that's what it was. I think they respect him to a certain level, but I don't think that they respect him all the way. Like, it's not like on a level where if Sean Payton says something, they kind of straighten up a little bit or they know that he's serious. Like, look at all the mistakes that they made. How many guys have you seen come in to try to replace Alvin Kamara when he fumbled, or Mark Ingram when he fumbled, or Will Lutz when he was missing field goals? Nobody. So it's like, okay, I missed. Okay, do better next time. Okay, I will. And that's a wrap. So if you're going to continue to run an organization like this, we're going to be in the same situation. Like a guy's going to just go out there and just be like whatever. And I just think that it was a whatever attitude and very little emphasis on trying to correct the mistakes that they did. Barbie, got anything else?
Or any attention to detail.
Yeah, not at all. Like no attention to detail. And the way that they played is a reflection of him. Like how he coached to try not to make the wrong decision. It's like guys wasn't playing free, and it don't seem like guys were having fun out there. It was like more so like it was a job, and I don't think these guys want to look at what they're doing as a job. It's a privilege to play in the National Football League. A lot of people can't do it. And I think they understand that. That's what makes it so great, right? Because you're making a bunch of money to do something, that's fun. And I don't feel like football was fun for the New Orleans Saints. It was more so of a job. And I just think that a lot of those players felt that. And I think that was the reflection of how this season actually turned out. But you have anything else for us?
I don't feel encouraged with this next year with DA coming back because I know absolutely positively that he's going to be bringing back Andy Dalton as quarterback number one, even if they do get Derek Carr.
Well, I think that if he brings back Andy Dalton, I think that it pretty much just tells the New Orleans Saints exactly where we stand. Like, yes, the guy threw 67. I mean, he completed 67% of his passes, but a bunch of empty calorie stats and stats that didn't produce anything at all. And you're just going to bring him back because he can get the ball into the hands of the playmakers. No, like it comes a time when you want to get a guy, like it's fine that you got him and, he was who he was, but you want to be able to bring a guy in that can take a step forward. And that ain't Andy Dalton. Like Andy Dalton should not be in contention to be your starting quarterback. I'm not saying that Andy Dalton is terrible. I've seen better quarterbacks, of course. I've seen worse quarterbacks. But the way that he plays the game, the way that he approaches the game is he plays like a loser. I'm sorry. Like he plays like a loser. Like he doesn't have that warrior mentality to me. Like he plays
fearful.
Yeah, he plays fearful. Like instead of like, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to, he has that kind of stuff in the back of his mind. Like I want a guy that plays with a warrior mentality. That's why, like, if I'm judging quarterbacks, like, do I feel like Andy Dalton is better as a quarterback than Taylor Heineke? Yes, I do. But I will take Taylor Heineke over Andy Dalton. Why? Because Taylor Heineke gonna give you everything he have. Every bit of ability he have, he gonna try to do it. He throws an interception, like he's still gonna go out there and try to throw that same play and try to throw that 50-50 ball for Chris Olave to try to catch, or Rashid Shaheed to try to catch. Like he is going to try to make a play. And that's the difference between a guy like a Heineke, and a guy like a Dalton. And I just think that if you're bringing back Dalton, you're just telling the fan base where you stand. Like you know, that you want to do the same thing and replicate the same performances that you have all this season. But why would you want to do that? But Barbara, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you for chiming in. Call back anytime.
Thank you. Love you, TJ. And congratulations on all the great things that you're doing. I support you 100%.
I appreciate it. I love you too, Barbara. And thank you so much for your support. All right, take care. Yeah, I mean, my goodness. Like, I just want a guy that has like a warrior mentality. Not so much about, you know, it's not so much if you can't get the quarterback that you want, right? Let's just say if the Saints don't get a first round pick. I mean, I would at least want to have somebody that I know is going to go out there and give it their all, and not just be like, you know, playing like they walking on eggshells or something. I don't know. It just I like guys that's going to compete. I like guys that are warriors. I like guys that are not just going to take it lying down. And I just think when I want to say Quinn said this before I get to Brian. He was talking about Rashid Shaheed, and he was talking about how Rashid Shaheed, when he first came in, you know, he started to make plays, and it took the Saints weeks, like, to adjust and get him a part of the game plan. Like, they should have known that, like, right off the bat, like, okay, we got all these guys hurt. This guy's giving us something. We need to try to put him in there. I mean, the next week, it wasn't the next week, but because they played on a Thursday, he caught a pass from Andy Dalton for a touchdown. So I'm like, that should have put on your mind, like, man, this dude is making plays. But instead, it just seemed like, oh, man, well, he made a play, and then they just went back to, like, the way that it was, right? Going back with the same old status quo. And I just feel like it was the same reason why they were so quick to get away from Jameis Winston, because this organization, these coaches, wanted to take the easy way out. It was more easier for them in their minds to get a guy like Andy Dalton, who is going to just basically be who he is, and you know what he's going to do, and he ain't going to do nothing more than what you're asking him to do, than a guy who has that warrior mentality like that of a Jameis Winston. Like, you can say whatever you want to say about Jameis Winston. You can talk about them turnovers. You can say all these different things about, oh, man, you're going to turn the ball over, this, that, and the third. But one thing you can never say about Jameis Winston, as long as he was a quarterback of the Saints, you wasn't bored watching him play quarterback. And you knew that he was going to put the ball in the air for those guys to make plays. And we've seen these guys come down with the football. We've seen Callaway with one-hand snags and catching Hail Marys. We've seen Deontay Hardy getting behind the defense. We've seen Chris Olave go for almost 200 yards. We've seen Jawan Johnson out there making plays. We've seen Traquan freaking Smith go for 100. Like, he was putting the ball in the air, and these guys were making plays. Like, so you can say whatever you want, but I just think that had a lot to do with it. Like, they're boring. You know, they got no pizzazz, right? And this dude comes in, and he gonna wheel and deal. And I just think that they didn't like that. I think they just wanted that conservative approach, right? He was that I guess that risque picture, you know, that comes in the house, you know, that came from the art gallery, right? Like, that nobody understands, but it's on the wall, right? Nobody gets it. But, you know, they look at, Andy Dalton. I mean, he basically, like, in their eyes, the Mona Lisa, you know what I'm saying? The Picasso, like, everybody, you know, like, we get it, right? You know, everybody like this. Like, that's just kind of the way that it was. It's boring. You know, there's nothing special about it. You know what I mean? But we just going to roll with it. But we're going to go to Brian. Brian, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. What's going on, TJ?
I'm doing okay, man. What you got for us?
Man, look, I'm going to take it a step further, TJ, bro. Like, I'm going to take it a step further. As far as the barn play with Jameis and them being conservative. Man, you remember you saw Stump the Yard, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, now you remember before DJ, I think it was his name, DJ or Columbus Short, but anyway, remember before he got there, before he started stepping, and he was trying to bring his moves to the thing, and they was telling him, no, we not trying to shoot a rap video. And I remember when he said losing is a state of mind, he said the only reason why you trying to keep up with tradition is because you cannot keep up with the present. So in other words, y'all became losing to New Gamma all this time. Y'all got complacent with with just being there. And I feel like that's the same thing with the Saints, bro. I feel like they just started accepting mediocrity. Like, I guess they figured Sean, Sean was attention to detail. He pinpointed everything, dotted every I's, crossed every T's. He did the most. He stayed up late, burned the midnight oil, all the cliches. He did the most. You know what I'm saying? Like we say nowadays, he did the most. And we understand it, but we know why. And he was a motivator. That's one big thing. Dennis ain't no motivator. Sean used to keep these guys motivated, putting cheese in the locker, bringing money, saying, don't take the cheese, don't take the bait, setting up the locker room in different situations. Even with dancing and smoke, doing the Sean Payton, he knew how to relate to these guys and come and get the best out of them. Yeah. And I guess these players look at Sean like, bro, like, I mean, not Sean, look at Dennis like, what have you done? They might not say it like into his face or something like that, or amongst each other out of respect, but I'm pretty sure they talk about it. Like, bro, we saw what you did at the Raiders. Yes, it was with Jamarcus Russell, and we looking at this season, like, what do you have to offer? At least with Sean, when he came into a worse situation. Like, I was listening to Matt Moscano and how he broke it down. Man, Dennis came into a well-equipped, you inherited a good team in a good situation. All you had to do was not wreck it and guide the ship. Sean had to build the ship, make sure everything was straight on the ship, and drive the ship. Dennis, all you had to do was just drive it. It was already put in place for you. That makes it look even worse. You know what I'm saying? And these players see that. They may not say it, but Dennis is just boring, bro. He's not a motivator. And like you said, it's easy for him to relate to something of an Andy Dalton play, which is boring, versus a Jameis. Because how you going to tell boring, how you going to put boring with swag? You know what I'm saying? Jameis, he threw picks, but he knew what it takes. And another thing about Jameis, TJ, he never made the same mistake twice. If you see him do something one week, next week, is fixed or it's improved. You know what I'm saying? He always willing to get better every time. Even the press conference, that's on me. It start with me. I got to be better. He take accountability, even if it's on me. Even when he went hooking up with Chris Olave, what he was saying, we're gonna connect on a few of those. We're gonna connect on a few of those. I'm gonna keep giving it to him. We're gonna keep trying until we get it. That's the mentality. Dennis is, if it don't work, okay, on to the next one. Like, no, bro. Like, he run from the moment. He don't drop his nuts when he's supposed to. And I felt like, TJ, the most fun this team ever had playing, bro, was at the last game when they was going for it. Like, this last game, you see them smiling and running around. I guess because they knew it was finna be over, but I felt like I felt like that was the freest they ever played up until the second half. I felt like that was the freest. That first half of the last game, I felt like was the happiest and the freest they ever been, with the exception of that Raiders game. But it goes to show you, bro, like, your personality is nonchalant, and this team was nonchalant. You ain't got no swag. The team ain't got no swag. Like you always quote Julius, attitude reflects leadership. You know what I'm saying? That's real, bro. You are what your leader is. You are what your general says you are. You know what I'm saying? And you are a reflection of that. You are pretty much the spokesperson for this team. Because when we go back, we're not gonna look at this, that. We're gonna look at the coach. The first thing we're gonna say is the coach. You know, Sean knew what it takes. And I'm not saying Dennis gotta be Sean, but you don't have to be that piss poor either. Don't mean to say it like that, and it's okay to be a good coordinator, bro. Everybody not panned out to be great coaches. That's why there are Sean Paytons. You know what I'm saying? If everybody could do it, he wouldn't be great. You have to do the best thing that you're good at, bro, that got you to the position. And Sean, we kind of got to blame Sean too, because Sean went out on a limb, and I feel like you got the guy in building right here. He probably thought he did, but Sean been around the game long enough. I think he was just saying that for PR, but I really feel like, everybody know what was going on, and they been had this set in place. Like you say, I feel like Dennis already knew he was gonna come back. That's why you ain't see no urgency. No urgency. That's another thing. No urgency. No urgency. Everything is just supposed to be laid back, chill, in slow motion, man. So I feel like coming in the next season, we shouldn't have these high expectations like we did this offseason, unless we get a couple picks for Sean if he decides to go somewhere. And even then, like you say, we can get the players, but who we gonna have to get the best out of these players, man? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look, I agree with everything that you just said. I just think that attitude does reflect leadership. I do feel like it was a clash of personalities when it comes to Dennis Allen and Jameis Winston. I think that you have a lot of the traditionalists that's the reason why they back Andy Dalton, because they boring, they ain't got no swag or no drip themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just being real. Like how can anybody like just get undying, unwavering support to Andy Dalton as a future? I see people like posting stuff like, man, Andy Dalton, he need to come back. Like what are you drinking? Like what are you smoking? Like what do you got your hands on? Like did you get your hands on California's finest or something? Like what is going on here for you to believe this? But I'm just saying, like you got people that are traditionalists. They like the way that he plays the quarterback position. You got a bunch of old heads, you know, around this thing that been following football. They want people to look like Mark Rippon or, you know, or John Elway or one of these other cats out here to stand in the pocket, look strong, look tall, you know, like look like them. I'm just some of them. I'm just gonna keep it a buck.
It's evolving, right, bro?
Exactly. So at the end of the day, you know, I don't feel like you ain't about to tell me that you got everything that you needed to see out of Jameis Winston. You got a full sample size. You got like, nah, bro. Like, man, that dude got yanked so quick. Like, it was like on Showtime at the Apollo or whatever like that. As soon as the person put that first note out, and then all of a sudden the crowd go, boo, you know, here comes the Sandman. Like dude didn't even get a whole full sentence out. You know, y'all just ready to boo. That's kind of like what it was. The first sign of trouble he saw, he wanted Andy Dalton in there, which I feel like that's what they wanted the whole entire time.
Exactly. Anytime it goes that quick, bro, you were just looking for an out. You was just looking and waiting. And that was the perfect thing that come through. You didn't want him in the first place. We seen that how you showed your behind with Deshaun Watson them, and you didn't get him. So you hit Jameis with the hey big head, you know I was playing, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. I ain't.
Hey, and I also want to hear this. I mean, I also want to say this for all those people out here that's talking about, well, Jameis was hurt. He was hurt. That's the reason why. Then riddle me this, right? Why is it that DA knew about Michael Thomas's injury, right? That he was injured. Why was he trying to lobby for him to come back so much, but he wasn't trying to lobby so much about Jameis Winston? So if Michael Thomas wouldn't have got surgery and came to Dennis Allen and said, you know what, I'm gonna try to go ahead and play, right? You think he gonna step in and be like, no, man, go ahead and have the surgery and be out for the rest of the year? No. He would have taken that dude word for it, and Michael Thomas would have been out there with a bum toe all year long trying to catch passes. You weren't gonna have that conversation. You care so much about Jameis Winston and his health and his well-being, but you were sitting up there for weeks, knowing the prognosis, knowing the situation. Man, he was like, I ain't know. No, you knew. If them doctors didn't know the severity of that toe injury that dude had right off the bat, then they all need to be fired. So
right.
You knew there was a strong chance that dude wasn't gonna play. He probably was telling you, I'm going to try to rehab this thing, and you took his word for it. If Michael Thomas would have came out there and had that toe injury and it could have pushed back, his progress even further, he still would have let that dude go out there. So miss me with that stuff about, I care about his health and his well-being. No, you don't. You just didn't want the dude to play.
Right, because you got to call a spade a spade. If you're going to do that for one play, got to do it for all of them.
Exactly.
That's what makes you look like a damn liar, which we already know it is. And when they ask Jameis about it, he come back and tell you, anybody tell you different, that's a lie. Man. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is right there, bro. So DA, just like Barbara said, how could you trust that? Like, you don't think these guys see that? And a lot of these guys really, you know what I'm saying, they really rock with Jameis. They really his homie. You know what I'm saying? I remember we had a show. I'm gonna let you go. We had a show, TJ. This Chosen, by the way. I don't know why it's showing Brian. You probably caught on to my voice. But this
I knew it was you.
Because I'm looking at the thing saying Brian. I'm like, why I got my name on here? But anyway, but so I remember we had the show, TJ. You had a show, and you were saying that a lot of these guys, it had to be some of these players to speak on having Andy start over Jameis in order for that to happen. A lot of these guys probably had to lobby for that. I feel like that's true now, but when I come back and I look at it, I wonder how much did that come into play? Did they really just say, okay, we're gonna roll like that? Or did he really convince them that Jameis was really that hurt and Jameis ain't gonna make a big scene? Because he always for the team. Jameis ain't gonna cause no scene.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it make me think about a whole lot of stuff, bro, that really could have been going on behind the scenes, even dating back with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. How much that had to play in it? Because now, if all this stuff coming out, and if Jameis speak on it, What if some of these other players start speaking on? Everybody start having their Me Too moment. You know what I'm saying? And you get to hearing stuff out the camps that's going on. You know, they might drop a little hint in there with the medical staff. With Michael Thomas, he do it all the time. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what if all this stuff is really revolving back to much deeper what Dennis Allen got going on and all that? It ain't no conspiracy. It's just to show you.
Oh, it's not. It's not. It's not a conspiracy at all, Chosen. I mean, man, like, it's reality slapping you right in the face. And for those that don't want to admit that, then it is what it is. Like, you just don't want to. Like, I don't understand how people can just honestly believe that when, Dennis Allen said this, so that's what it was. Like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me, man? These people tell you anything that is technically PC, like they gonna tell you that. And you got people that's like, I'm listening to what he's saying. Man, these people lie to you. They just want to make sure that they put your mind at ease enough in order for you to line up in an orderly fashion to file up in the Caesar Superdome on Sunday. Man, this team had a lot of issues. I don't care what anybody said. They had a lot of issues. Right. And I just think that like anybody that says that they got a large enough sample size in 2022 about Jameis Winston and the trajectory of where he was going to be as a quarterback, you just didn't like the man.
You didn't like him.
You didn't like him. And any way that you can get him off the field, you didn't care how you get out. You don't care if he got hurt. You don't care, like, if he would have just threw multiple interceptions, you get it any way you want to. Because now you've been lobbying saying, well, he's not the quarterback. If you're not the quarterback, if you don't look at the injuries, don't look at the fact that DA just yanked him so quick, they just gonna take him any way they want to. Right. But that dude deserved a second chance.
And that's our problem. And two more points, TJ, and I'm gonna let you go. I know you got everybody else, but real quick, the thing with the people is, and Who That Nation and a lot of people in general that listen to the media, it's like they don't do the research. It's context, baby. You gotta look at the context clues. If I hit you, TJ, if I hit you, right? Let's just say I hit you, right? Point you and hit you, right? And you hit me, and people just see you hit me. Well, and they say, "Oh, TJ, man, why you hitting on Chosen, man? Why you trying to bully him, man? Why you disrespecting Chosen?" You ever stop to think, well, damn, what did Chose do to him to get that reaction out of him? We just be looking at the final product, but we don't look at the steps that it take to get that. We don't look at the context of it. We got to start putting stuff in context, people. We just look at the final thing, and we just look at what we see in front of us. We don't do our own research. We lazy, and I'm a victim of it too. Sometimes we lazy.
We all are, man.
We don't want to take accountability for them. We don't want to do our own research. We just rather hear from an old talking head. Oh, well, he been in the business. He got insiders. He know what's up. Nah, you don't know who. And another thing, Cat be drilling them.
Yeah, Cat terrible. Yeah.
Shout out to her, man. She see the truth. And every time he be running. And I feel like that's why Jameis, probably another reason why he don't want to deal with Jameis, because Jameis will question his authority. Anytime Jameis checked Traquan Smith his first year starting, Jameis got that mentality in me, well, I'm not gonna put up with BS as long as I'm in control of this thing. And I feel like him and Jameis probably been with button heads. And I feel like Jameis is the type of person that'll challenge DA. And DA probably don't want that, so he'd rather go with Dennis Allen, a yes man who gonna do whatever and don't want no smoke. He getting his money. He know he at the latter years of his career versus Jameis, who still got something to prove, who gonna want to be risky. But he know he can't install that game plan in Jameis if Jameis not signing off on it. So why deal with Jameis when I could deal with somebody who gonna do whatever I want him to do versus somebody that's gonna go against the grain? So that's all I got, TJ, bro. That's how I look at it. I feel like it's deeper than just X's and O's. I feel like it's personalities and relationships trying to combine that's just not meshing. You know what I'm saying? Right. So
yeah. I agree with what you're saying. I think there's a lot of fire, I mean, clearly there's plenty of smoke, so there's a fire somewhere, but I'm pretty sure like in this off season, I'm pretty sure Jameis Winston going to speak candid about that.
I hope he goes.
Somewhere, and I just want to let them know, we got open forum here on the State of Say podcast. You want to tell the story, you know what I'm saying? We can look, we can talk to you. You know what I'm saying? We can let you spill the beans or tell your story, like whatever that may be. But Chosen, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you too. If Andy Dalton come back, it needs to be as a bridge quarterback, not the starter. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he should come back at all. I think you can find something better than that. But
there you go.
Yeah,
all right, homie. Appreciate
all right, take it easy, man. yeah. Look, yeah. At the end of the day, man, you can find something better than that. You know, I mean, I want somebody as a game. I want somebody as a baller. You know, like, nah, that ain't it, bro. That ain't it. I mean, watching the Saints offense under Andy Dalton is almost like watching paint dry. Like I seen very few plays being made here. Very few. Very, very few. Now, to his defense, there were a couple plays that should have been made. You know, I think if we go back and look at it, I mean, there were touchdowns that Andy Dalton should have thrown that the receivers didn't catch. I'll give him that, but I just think that you can just do better than that. I'm going to read a few comments, then we'll get to a real talk here. Says, I think Pete and DA made their mind up and didn't want Jameis after he went off script in the Atlanta game. I don't think they liked that at all, and that cost him his job. Well, I tell you what, if he didn't go off script, they wouldn't have won. So there you go. DA didn't like the idea that Jameis checked him on the lie about his injury, and I think Jameis would check out of his boring plays in the huddle. I mean, I just think that, I mean, if you tell a guy, oh, you ain't gonna lose your spot, and then all of a sudden he just ends up losing his spot, that tells me everything that I need to know right then and there. Like, first off, you ain't got no spine. And like I said, it goes back to the offseason when your inability to make a decision, like, and say it with your whole chest, right? Instead of, oh, I want to be the coordinator. I want to be the coordinator. You know what? Both of you can be the coordinator, right? It's almost like, you got two buddies, right? And man, I've been your friend since high school. Man, I've been your friend since college, but we done been through everything together. Which one of us gonna be your best man? You know what? Both of y'all can be my best man. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you gotta make a decision. Like that would kind of bother me, like when guys be like, man, I got two best men. No, man, no. Pick one. One of these guys, one of these guys just not gonna be happy about this situation. But I just think in certain things, I just think there's a lot of mountain lip service going on and very little substance. And I feel like that's what it was. Like, you can't, man, if you're gonna be a head coach, you gotta be real with these guys and have these tough decisions. It's hard for a person to, trust you if they know you saying one thing and doing something completely different. But we're gonna go to real talk. Real talk, how you doing, man?
What up, TJ? What up? Forgive me about the loudness in the background. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I think you can hear me good, right? Everything good?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, man.
Okay. So I think anybody that watches Dennis Allen, without any biasness, can see that he's not a good head coach. So I don't think anybody disagrees there. But I do see a silver lining for you guys. Like, I hear a lot of people keep comparing him to comparing Dennis Allen to Sean Payton, and you should. You know what I'm saying? That's your guys' standard. That's a good thing. And I think the thing that happens a lot is people start lowering their standards. And I mean, I've seen this with, people forget what used to be. I hear this a lot when I talk to other people about Drew Brees, and they're like, oh, Drew Brees doesn't have the biggest arm, and he checks the ball down a lot, he dinks and dunks. And I'm just like, bro, you don't remember the prime Drew Brees when he was a freaking assassin down the field, like, constantly? Like, people tend to forget things real easily. So I think the fact that Dennis Allen is hired again can kind of be a good thing, because as much as you guys don't want to, like, admit, the franchise is not in the greatest shape right now as far as contracts and, like, salary caps and stuff like that. And I think the worst thing you can do is actually fire him and try to go get a new head coach right now, because there's a few things. For one, if you was on the market right now looking for a coach, you wouldn't be the best job. So you'd probably end up with a coach that you guys would have to settle with for, instead of the guy that you really wanted, because of all the other job opportunities out there right now in the NFL. So that would you'd probably end up with a coach that wouldn't be able to move the roster or hire a sign free agent that they would want to make the team the way they would want to, and probably end up with something that you guys wouldn't be that happy with either. Now that would be two coaches that you would go through, and the problem with that would be you start going from comparing Dennis Allen to Sean Payton, which again you should be doing, to start comparing whatever the third coach is to the coach you had after Dennis Allen, or even comparing him to Dennis Allen. And then you start comparing those, and you go from saying, I noticed Dennis Allen was too hyped over a bad win when Sean Payton would get a win and he'd be pissed because he didn't think it was good enough. And then you start going from those comparisons to, well, at least the team didn't give up on this coach, so let's give him another year or whatever. And then you start wasting years like that. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but the silver lining is, I think you could do worse than trying to hire another coach right now. Let Dennis Allen, you might have you have to bite the bullet. It is what it is. But let Dennis Allen take this team right now. Another year, throw it away. And then next year, you probably be better in the salary cap, have better contract situation. Then that year, when you go for a head coaching job, because I doubt Dennis Allen's going to last after next year. Then when you go for that head coaching hire, you're probably in a better position. That job looks a lot more better for a real coach that you really want, instead of settling for a coach right now, because, probably Mike McCarthy is going to get fired. Someone's going to want that Dallas coach, that Dallas job. Someone's going to want the damn Broncos job with Russell. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot more better jobs out there right now. So I think you guys would be in a way better position. And not only that, but once you hire that coach, I think you're only one coach removed from Sean Payton. So you'll still have that comparison of, well, I still remember what Sean Payton's standards were, instead of going for that third coach. Now that you're in a better situation and being like, well, now we're looking at the coach we hired after Dennis Allen, and we're looking at what Dennis Allen did, and we're comparing those. Does that make any sense or no?
I think that's a fair point to make, but the thing about it is I'm not in the business of just keeping somebody, like the way that seems like, okay, that's okay, real talk. If you have a business, right? You're a business owner, okay, you're a manager or what have you, and you have a person that is just on the job and they not really doing the job well, but they show up every day, right? But it very, very little is getting done. But the only thing about it is, they show up every day. Like, should you just keep that person on just because they show up every day? Or, like they don't ask you for a pay raise. It's still going to hurt you down the line. It's still going to affect your business in some way, shape, or form. By keeping Dennis Allen here, you still, it's going to just continue to, it's going to make the situation even worse, because here's the reality. I said this at the beginning. When you have bad head coach, these players know about this. So if you get yourself, if you can get a free agent, or you can get a player that can actually come in that could be impactful, they ain't going to want to come here. And I'm not the standard, how many coaches keep a job for 15 years? Guys like Belichick, guys like Mike Tomlin, guys like Sean Payton, these guys are anomalies. Most coaches stay, 4 or 5 years tops for a team? So regardless to if he was to get fired, that's what I don't understand. If you have a guy who set a certain standard, if you get rid of the other guy, I don't feel like that's a reflection of you. And I don't feel like that's not stability, because you're getting compared to a coach that stayed in the same place for 15 years. For 15 years, this guy has been your coach. So it's not like you're unstable. It's not like Sean Payton didn't have no hardships. The Saints had 7-9 records, constantly back to back with him, but they still kept him. They still kept him on, and they allowed him to work through those situations. So it's because you have a certain standard that he set behind, and this guy is not living up to the standard. And as far as the whole cap thing, we shouldn't, honestly, I don't even really talk about that, to be honest, because they have done a good job every year, 60 million, 70 million, 100 million over the cap. and they still find a way to be compliant. They were over the cap like over $100 million last year, and they still made room where they can actually be in contention to get Deshaun Watson. So I'm not concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is the stench that is coming out of the Superdome in the city of New Orleans that a lot of people don't like. It's a bad smell, and the smell is gonna start getting worse if you keep this dude on.
The difference with Sean Payton is when you guys started getting into that cap situation, Sean Payton already had his core. He already had the core of the team that he needed. So they moved around and did whatever they had to do to make the team better while they kept the core of that team. But when you're hiring a new coach, that's not. I doubt it's going to be the look that they want that Sean Payton had. And that's the reason why you guys had Dennis Allen from the beginning, was because you already had that type of team that Sean Payton wanted. And Dennis Allen already knew the strengths and the weaknesses of that team. If you hire a different coach, they might want to change a whole bunch of things about that team. And if you hire a coach that wants to do that, right, which is a good thing, you might not be able to make those moves or make the changes that he needs to be able to execute the vision he has for the team, right? And like I said, you might not care about the cap and all that stuff, but the head coach that wants a head coaching job, is going to care about that, especially a good head coach. They're going to look at the different things like, okay, what's the GM like? Am I going to work good with the GM? What's my quarterback situation looking like? Do I have a quarterback already there? Do I have to go get a quarterback? You guys are not settled on a quarterback yet. You guys don't have the draft capital to even go get a quarterback this year. Like, there's a lot of it's a bad situation to come into the Saints right now. So you're going to end up with a coach that's going to overlook that and say, I just want a head coaching job. That's not the head coach. I mean, you can get lucky. Maybe you could get lucky and get and hit on a coach that's desperate and he just happens to be some genius of something, and you guys get lucky. But I would rather, if I'm going to go and look for a head coach, I would rather know that whatever head coach I want is the one I'm going to get, because they know that this is a good situation to come into, and they're going to be able to come in here and do the team exactly the way they want to have the team, shape the team exactly the way they want to shape the team, and cut the fat off exactly where they want to cut it off, because there's no restrictions. We're okay with the salary. The contracts are a lot better, where we can move some things around and be able to do what you need to do as a head coach. Because if you're not at that situation as a franchise, then you're probably going to end up with someone that's just going to be like, yeah, I can deal with it. I can do this. I can do that. And then like I said, it's going to be hard to hit on a coach like that. But like I said, I'm just looking for a silver lining. If I'm a Saints fan, that's how I would look at it. Like, you know what? This sucks, but the year after that, when we fire him, we're going to be in a way better position, because right now I'm looking at him like he's just a sacrificial lamb. Let him deal with all the bad press or whatever while we get our situation better, and then we'll really look for our real head coach.
I mean, that's a fair point to make, but it's hard for me, and I say this, it's hard for me to sit up here and look at this situation and don't compare it to how Sean Payton got here in the first place. Like, the city was under siege. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was one of the he came in during a natural disaster. Nobody wanted to come here. Nobody even knew if the New Orleans Saints was going to still be in New Orleans, but they found Sean Payton, right? The Saints didn't have a quarterback at the time. Then, I mean, they had nobody knew Drew Brees was going to end up being who he was. Nobody even really knew who Sean Payton was at the end of the day, but they found him. And Sean Payton could have easily been like, man, I don't know if this team is going to stay the way that it is. I don't know if they're going to move. Like, who going to want to come here? How am I going to bring somebody in? Once they see half of the city, completely wiped out, they're going to hop back on the plane and go home. But for some apparent reason, for 15 years, he has been and was the most winningest coach in New Orleans Saints history. So I know it looks bleak right now. You're talking about draft positionings and all that kind of stuff there. But just like how you found Sean Payton in the wake of a natural disaster, you ain't about to tell me like you ain't about to find somebody that will be willing to coach this football.
How did Sean Payton get Drew Brees?
You say how? Through free agency. He was a free agent.
Would you guys be able to do that right now?
Yeah, the Saints can get a free agent. Yes. If you're talking about, like I said, people have been using this whole salary cap thing for years. Like post Drew Brees, post Sean Payton, they still been talking about, and they still find ways to be in contention to get the things that they want to get. Drew Brees was like, and Drew Brees, just like somebody else that's probably going to come in, was like a guy you took a fly on. Drew Brees was coming off rotator cuff surgery. The only reason why the Saints got him is because Miami didn't want him. There was the Saints and it was Miami. So all I'm saying is you're not going to convince me. And, when I seen this happen, that if the Saints was to fire Dennis Allen, that somebody wouldn't be willing to do this. You only got 32 head coaching jobs in the National Football League. Guys, if they got a competitive spirit, if they got they're a competitor, they're going to look at this team and be like, yeah, I can fix this. And they will, because, that's just the way that it goes. I think we look at it from, a Sean Payton standpoint. Like, he can name his price. He can go anywhere he want to go. A Jim Harbaugh, they can go anywhere they go because they established themselves. But a guy who is an offensive coordinator that has, the intentions of trying to be a really good coach, they're going to come to a place like this. They're going to try to build up their resume, doing the little things they need to do in order to get better. That's all I'm saying. Like, I know that's what they try to feed us. Like, oh man, nobody want to come here. But if somebody get an opportunity to be a head coach, a young person, a young guy, offensive innovator, defensive innovator, they're going to want to give an opportunity to be a head coach. I mean,
of course. I'm just saying, would you rather have your pick of the litter, or would you rather have someone that's, like I said, desperate to go to be a head coach, is what I'm saying. Because you're going to get a head coach. Anybody's going to want to, I got an opportunity to be a head coach. But I would just rather be in that head coaching search, while I know that when I find somebody, like for instance, the Miami Dolphins, they wanted Dable, but Dable chose to go to New York. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Dable found, the situation in Miami as good, but he chose New York over Miami. So then they got left with Mike McDaniels. Now, Mike McDaniels, he had the season he had in the beginning, but I think people are starting to see the reason why some people were off of Mike McDaniels, which was NFL caught up to what he was doing real fast. But that's all I'm saying. Like, I agree with what you're saying as well, as far as somebody can come in. If they're good enough, they can come in and do exactly what Sean Payton is. I just think the chances of that happening is a lot lower than if you tried to do that, but next year. That's all. But I agree with what you're saying.
I mean, I'll say this real talk before I let you go. There's a lot of head coaches out here that we never seen before get opportunities. Like, nobody really knew Brian Daboll was. Like, this dude never been a head coach. Kevin McConnell, like, nobody knew who this guy was. You know what I'm saying? And you can say what you want about Mike McDaniel, but the three guys that I just named, this is their first coaching opportunity, and they made the playoffs. So I'm just saying, like, there are diamonds in the rough. There are going to be guys that you probably never heard of. That they're going to be guys, even with your squad. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how things going to end up with Ty Bowles, but there's probably going to be a guy out there that Tampa probably eventually give an opportunity to if Ty Bowles don't pan out, and that guy might end up being good. Like, it's about doing your due diligence as an organization. It's about, taking the time out to pick that guy's brain, to see where he wants to go, to see where he sees your team going, and you try to make the situation. The thing about this is, I don't think that they made the best situation. I think that they were lazy and they rest on their laurels of last year and how last year ended up. Oh, we didn't make the playoffs because the 49ers won. And people just kind of just ran with it. And the fact that Sean Payton didn't get fired, he stepped down. So we still a good team because we didn't fire our coach, he stepped down. So it was a lot of tongue-in-cheek type stuff. Yeah, they brought in Doug Peterson. Yeah, they talked to Brian Flores. But at the end of the day, they thinking about something else in the back of their mind, trying to get through this process to say, I interviewed this guy so I can hire this dude. So I just think that you're probably going to do more due diligence going forward, because I feel like there's a lot of good coaches out there, because somebody found Daboll and he's a good coach. Somebody found McConnell. He looking good so far. So I just think it could be the same thing. But real talk.
I hear you, man. I appreciate you letting me talk. And one of these days, man, we gotta get on here and talk about Jameis, bro, because I got some stuff that you might want to hear that might explain the reason why Jameis gets treated the way he gets treated. So one of these days, bro. Okay. But I appreciate you letting me talk.
All right, man. Sound good, man. Actually, man, if you have some time, man, hopefully we can get with you, to talk to you a little bit about the playoff game with your Bucks taking on the Cowboys. So hopefully, I probably, I can, get in touch with you, man, so we can talk.
Just let me know. Hit me up on Twitter, on my DMs. I'm there.
Okay, man. Sound good. All right. Appreciate it, Real Talk. All right. Yeah, man. Shouts out to Real Talk, man. I mean, he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. He got a YouTube channel thing going on. Look, that's the best thing about this show. That's why we do it, man. It's not always about, having the same opinion about certain situations. Sometimes we're not going to agree with things, and it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Sometimes you're not going to disagree. You're going to disagree with some things a person says, but that's what makes this thing so great, folks. Like it's okay to have a difference of opinion, and it's not something I haven't heard before, and it makes sense. Like it makes sense, to a certain extent. But I will say this: I really feel like all those Caleb Williams supporters out there, you keeping DA on, there might actually be a reality. With Dennis Allen as your head coach, we might end up getting Caleb Williams. If the Saints, if there's any indication of how he been coaching with the Saints, you might end up getting Caleb Williams. Might end up getting the quarterback that you always wanted. We're gonna go to God of Creation. Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
What's good? Finally, man. What's up, man? How you been?
I know, man. It was a little bit long, but I appreciate you for being patient, man. What you got for us?
Oh, man. To be honest, I feel like people on DA's neck, hard body, like hard, in which, just as justifiably so. But I don't think it's nothing we can't get past. Reason being, if you look at how we were set up, DA didn't coach the offense. He coached the defense, and Pete Carmichael coached the offense. As far as our play on the field went, DA wasn't all that bad because his defensive, if you look at our defense, the defense actually got better through what was it like? I think we started doing pretty good like around week 11, week 10, if I'm mistaken. It's somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Our defense,
you had 8 weeks of really good defense.
Right. Yeah. And so if you're talking about on the as far as game day, he wasn't the problem as far as on the field. But I don't like how he handled with Jameis. That to me was bad. I feel like Jameis could have easily had us probably. We won 7. He could have easily got us at least 10, in my personal opinion. Who knows? I don't know the future, but but I just think he could at least gave us like a 3. There were so many winnable games that I feel like if we had Jameis, who's not Andy, who's not gonna choke in the pocket and just wait to get sacked, I feel like we could have, if our offense was just a little bit better, we could have came out on top pretty easily, I think, in my opinion. I feel like we should have won both Tampa games. I feel like we were there in the 49ers game, right, until a certain point, right? We even the 49ers game we was there. If you look at all the times we played good offense, I think most of the time we won. Besides, I think earlier this season, because that first week, man, whoo boy, they was just running on us. We couldn't stop nothing. We couldn't stop anything. But I think what DA's got to grow on is like trusting your decisions, man. Like if you have Jameis, man, don't like, oh man, things aren't going well and my job's on the line, and you shaking up and quivering up, and then now you want to throw in Andy, which resulted in nothing. Like you switching out Andy probably hurt us more than actually helped us. Like, barring like, putting, Andy in for, when Jameis was injured, but not putting Jameis back in, that hurt us in my opinion. He's got some flaws, but I feel like with a good offensive scheme, I feel like we're not going to be as bad as people think we are. Because the good things he did to me was, at least, he wasn't the most like disciplinary coach. He wasn't the most like hyper coach. He's like the Goldilocks coach, man. He's just in the middle, not too hype, not too low.
That man just fed DA to some porridge.
Yeah, I feel like he succeeded in having a good defense this year, good draft. Even though people might crap talk him, I feel like there are things he's done well. Like I said, I wouldn't be too against, moving on. I'm just like right there in the middle. I'm not, he's not the best, he's not the worst in my opinion. I feel like what could help him more is somebody that has a lot of experience with offensive schemes, and that's a good offensive coach. And I feel like we can pick things up. And hopefully this next year we can have that and, see what he really is. Because, if we go into next season, we do have a good offense and our defense looks bad and things still can't, click, then it's like, okay, yeah, the DAU is not that guy. We know for sure it's not. You can't blame this, you can't blame that. But in my opinion, I feel like just giving him a good offense, because offense didn't help us out. We saw with the Panthers game, defense stopping. Oh, guess what? Offense 3 and out. Oh, get a little drive, go stop. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's those type of things that I feel like people aren't like, they're blaming that more on DA than actual Pete Carmichael, the one actually calling the plays. You know what I'm saying? Not, and to reiterate, not saying DA was perfect, but I feel like there's things that people are blaming and putting it on him that aren't his fault, as far as, offensive field things go. But like I said, he messed up with the Jameis thing. He's not disciplinary. That's something he's got to work on. He, just because, a player is, AK or Michael Thomas, even though he didn't play, but you know what I mean. You got to hold them to an accountability. Matter of fact, you got to hold them to a higher standard because of the person they are. And I feel like those things he just needs to get work. He needs to work on it. And if he works on that, I feel like he'll be fine, but yeah, I really don't think, it's as bad, but who knows, maybe I could just be given benefit of the doubt, but I just think we just need an offense.
I mean, look, that's a fair assessment, God of creation. I mean, look, that's fair. I just think that I know people are trying to give this dude, some props because of the defense, but it's more like if he were just coaching defense, and I said this, if he were just coaching defense, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Like this dude would be the Bryce, right, like how he's been over the last like 5-6 years. He's been the coordinator. Right. Like nobody would have an issue. Nobody would have a problem with him at all. But here's the reality: you're not just a coordinator. You're a head coach. So if the offense isn't running effectively, it's because of you. If the special teams aren't doing what they're supposed to do, it's because of you. If the team doesn't have any accountability, it's because of you. If guys are content and can place it in their positions and they feel like, well, I can fumble, but I'm gonna be here next week, that's on you. So it's not so much about the defensive side of the ball. If this was that's it, then we wouldn't be talking.
Right.
But it's about the overall presentation of this.
Yeah, it was like luster.
Exactly. So I mean, yeah, I say this, and I'll let you speak. If you get yourself an offensive coordinator, I'm kind of, I thought about that, and that's fair. Like, defense looked good towards the end of the season. They look, what I'm saying? Like, he got the defense rolling. Okay, fair enough. If you get yourself an offensive coordinator, what type of offensive coordinator are we talking about? Are we talking about getting somebody that's like, a Sean Payton type offensive guy? Are we talking about a guy that's young and, and offensively innovative? Like, are you going to?
I think so.
Yes, man. Like, but at the end of the day, okay, your offense can improve, but we know that these NFL teams, there's a fine line between a win and a loss. Like, the worst team in the NFL can beat the best team in the NFL. So what happens when it's nip and tuck, when the game is on the line, and you really have to make those decisions? God, crazy. And that's what I've been concerned about, man. When these games nip and tuck,
you
not been making the right decisions, man.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a fair point. I'll say that's one thing he was terrible with is his like I said, if he is, since he's the head coach, he's got to tell Pete Carmichael and be like, nah, man, we got to change something up. That you're right. He does got to put his foot down.
Yeah, adjustments.
Right. He doesn't, and so I feel like, you're completely right, and I feel like when it comes to those nip and tuck games, we had a lot of them, and like you said, man, the reason why we went 7-10 is because we didn't make the right decisions. We had the players. Players are fine, but whenever your team is causing fumbles and turning the ball over, making silly mistakes when the crucial times call for it, then that's on DA. And that's a fair point. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm. You know what I'm saying. I'm not gonna make no excuses, man, because I was heated, man. I was, especially when he started James keep starting Andy Dalton. I was like, man, I don't know, what's going on. I don't know what's going on with that at all, man. That didn't make no sense to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it didn't make a sense to a lot of people, man. But all I'm saying is, like, that's a fair point. And what you said earlier about what happens if they bring in a guy that can give you a little bit more than what Pete Carmichael gave you, right? What happened? Like, look, that's a fair point. Like, can that offensive coordinator come in and give you, more results, better results? Be able to push the field, be able to think outside the box. Not playing afraid. Like, can you bring somebody in that can do that? And that could be intriguing. To me, I just think opposites attract. Like, you can say whatever you want to say about Greg Williams. I know on his way out it looked bad, but him and Sean Payton did not get along. They did not like each other. But guess what? That man can coach the hell out some defense, and Sean Payton can coach the hell out some offense. And guess what? They got a Super Bowl in the deal. So it can't be about your feelings and all that kind of stuff. And we can go out and we can drink coffee together, have a beer together. Like, I don't care about that, right? If this guy is good at his job, I feel like this, man. You seen from time to time, you seen Sean Payton going at Dennis Allen, yelling and screaming at him on the sidelines, right? But like, I feel like if you don't have that type of dynamic from time to time, I don't want you as a coordinator. Like, I don't. How many times did you see? How many times you seen Dennis Allen looking? Looking away at Pete Carmichael. I ain't never seen.
Yeah, but not one.
I ain't never seen it. That's all I'm saying. Like, you should. Like, how many times we seen Sean Payton turn his head, like, if a special teams player give up a play, he looking at.
Man,
like, if a defensive player give up a play, he looking at Dennis Allen. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to have a coach that's going to be able to put, light a fire with under somebody, man, and that's something that missing. But got to create. You got anything else, man? Got a few more calls I got to get to.
Oh yeah, one last thing. for his coaching style, do you think right now, do you think these things are? Do you think he can work on them? Are these things that he can look back on and be like, man, I can fix this. I need to fix this. Or like, because I feel like a lot of these things we say he needs to do, you expect that from like a Mike Tomlin type dudes with a lot of years under their belt, right?
Right.
And so I'm saying, do you think he would be able to, um, kind of reel that in next year? Do you think it's possible these things are things he can work on, or do you think it just has to do with his personality?
I think there's like you are who you are. Like if he come in 2023 and he giving speeches like Kirby Smart did against saying that national championship game, like, whoa man, what the heck going on here? Like that ain't him. I just think that God's going to see through that. But if we're talking about things that you need to be meticulous about, and he improves on that, then I don't think that anybody would have a problem or anybody would have an issue with that. Like I just feel like you wouldn't have any type of issue with that, because those are some things that you indeed have to work on. But if he comes in there trying to be a completely different person, God's gonna see right through that. And it's gonna be a rough season, man. But I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you,
time, man. It's been a while since I heard from you. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, of course, man. 7 and 10.
Ain't much to talk about. I understand that. But call back anytime, man. Thank you.
Of course, man. Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, man. God of creation, man. It's been a while since I heard from my guy, man. But I'm glad to see that he's doing good. Glad to see that he's man, he's in good spirits and stuff like that, man. It's good to like hear from people, or see people in the chat that you didn't really hear from. Let me read a few comments. Unfortunately, I just got a message, man. I actually have to wrap this show up in the next five minutes, man. So what I'll do is I'll take these last two calls, and then we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. But I gotta do something in the next 5 minutes. I'm gonna go to Sanchez. Sanchez, how you doing, man? Sanchez, are you there? All right, we're gonna go to Money Mick. Money, how you doing, man?
Hey, good, TJ. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. What you got for us?
Hey, man, I know you're pressing for time, but I got to discipline some of these Saints fans, man, that's losing their minds. Okay, I come here to preach the gospel today. All right, real quick. As I said earlier, when the last couple times we talked, DA is not it. This is not something that we just saying just because we hate the guy or anything like that. I've heard Saints fans compare DA's 7 wins to that streak between 2014 to 2016 when Sean was, having those back-to-back 7 and 9 seasons. The difference is Sean was a proven winner, man. Sean came out the gate with a lesser roster in 2006 and got the Saints all the way to the NFC Championship. So it's blasphemy to think that that's they're on the same level, for one. For two, all these Saints fans that are scared, basically saying, well, if you get rid of Dennis Allen, then the defense is going to be terrible. Then the defense, man, it has nothing to do. It's easier to replace a defensive coordinator than it is to find a quality head coach. And it's not that we're being unfair. All those years that Sean was an offensive mind, we got on to Sean about not having good defenses. We still get on Sean now for that lack of side of the ball. And the reason being is because he runs the show at the end of the day. He makes the final decisions. You said it yourself. You work in management. It's almost like people are judging DA and saying, well, that's not his specialty. Man, who cares? You're the head coach. You make the final say in things. I don't even blame, even though Pete Carmichael's going to get ready to step down, air quotes, really fired. I can't really blame Pete Carmichael for something that he didn't want. And at the end of the day, it's Dennis Allen's job to have that leadership to say, okay, hey, we're going to switch it up. I personally, man, would have put Doug Marrone in there, but that's just me, just to try to be a little bit innovative, But I would say this, final thought, just something I wanted to get off my chest. The same Saints fans that are saying keep Dennis Allen, are the same Saints fans that will tell you that Derek Carr is not a good quarterback. And basically, they don't look at any kind of basis for their arguments or anything like that statistically. The man is more than a serviceable quarterback. I know that was a debate that you had on one of your last couple shows.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Money Mick. Somebody walked in, man. I caught the last. Can you ask your question again?
No. I said the last thing. One of the last things I will say: the same Saints fans that are saying, the same Saints fans that will tell you that Dennis Allen, just give him a chance, he's the answer. As much as we've seen this guy literally checked out on the sideline, literally you can tell on his face he's over his head. Mm-hmm. The same Saints fans that will say give Dennis Allen another chance are the same Saints fans that will tell you that Derek Carr is not a serviceable quarterback. It's no basis, no basis for their arguments, So that's all I wanted to say, man. I appreciate it, man. As usual.
Yeah. Look, before you go, man, like I agree with what you're saying. I just think that I don't understand it. Like, how can you watch a guy as mediocre as Andy Dalton has been? Guys about as mediocre as Trevor Siemian was. Like all these guys that have come through. And we just feel like, like, man, Derek Carr, like, man, we don't need, like, come on, man. Like, you telling me that you wouldn't take Derek Carr, like, over Andy Dalton or over Trevor Siemian? Like, man, give me a freaking break. Those are the type of people, in my opinion, you talk about delusion. Those are the type of fans that are delusional about the state of the Saints, no pun intended, where they are right now. Like, this team needs a quarterback. And if you can get yourself a veteran signal caller and you combine him with a guy that's an offensive coordinator that knows what he's doing, like this guy can make plays. Like say what you want to say about Derek Carr, but Derek Carr has 14 game-winning drives under his belt throughout the last 4 seasons. Can Andy Dalton say that? No, he cannot. What a game-winning drive that Andy Dalton facilitated? Somebody please tell me. 67% of his passes that he completed. And like I said, I'm not trying to poo-poo on Andy Dalton. He did his best, right? You know what I'm saying? That's who Andy Dalton is. But all I'm saying is, where's the game-winning drives? Where is the play that was like, man, you know what? Man, that Andy Dalton, the truth. Where's that play? I can think of one play, Money Mick. I promise you. There was one play. It was against the Minnesota Vikings when he threw that 35-yard pass on a road to Chris Olave that set up that long field goal by Will Lutz. That's probably was the best play, the best pass that I seen Andy Dalton throw. Like, to be honest with you. Like, that's the one play, like, I can say, okay. But besides that, it's been few and far in between. So all these people out here that's lobbying for him, like, what are you lobbying for? Are you lobbying for mediocrity? Are you lobbying for lame duck? Are you like, what are you doing? Like, I want to get better. Like, if I look, I'm gonna go over what I have. Like, you ever been outside, you ever been working and stuff like that, and you're working out in the yard, and all of a sudden, like the tool that you're using break, then all of a sudden, like you kind of put a little makeshift tool together. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna make it work, but eventually you're gonna have to take your tail to Lowe's and replace what you just broke. You know what I'm saying? I'm working with it right now, but I'm not trying to work with it forever. And that's what people are trying to do. Oh, it work. Oh, is it work? Like you're putting a square peg into a round hole, in my opinion. That's what you're doing with Andy Dalton. You trying to make him work. You trying to make him something more than what he is, and you can find something better than that. It's just
exactly
simple. You find something better than that, man. You got anything else, bro?
Exactly. One more thing before I go, man. One huge thing to anybody who says like somebody like Derek Carr ain't it. I urge you, TJ. I went to school. I'm a huge business guy, and huge statistics guy. This is what I went to school for. And stats don't always tell you, don't always tell you the full story, but it does tell a story. If you go pull up Derek Carr stats, compare him to Kirk Cousins, compare him to Dak Prescott, and I think both of those guys are serviceable quarterbacks. He has better stats than them, or at least identical. And if you pull up Drew Brees' stats between 2006 to 2010, like when Drew first got here, literally almost darn near identical, man. But one thing I want to point out to all these Saints fans that are saying, well, just give DA this piece. If he gets a great offensive mind, if he gets this, if he gets that, then it's going to work. I would say that, that'll be true. But TJ, that's not sustainable, man. And you know what I mean? That for a long period of time, because like, you've been around the game for a long time. The NFL is constantly evolving, man. And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be times where as a head coach, you're going to have to make those decisions and, do different things. So, I mean, you may get one good season and then we back down to hell again.
And then on top of that, look, like you talk about the game evolving. A lot of coaches, a lot of owners, what they looking for? Offensive coaches. So if you get a hot shot offensive coordinator and he has the Saints playing at a high level, what you think gonna happen to him?
He gone within 2 years. Exactly. He's gone within 2 years.
Look at the Lions offensive coordinator. He had 2 jobs. He had 2 job interviews. Like he got lined up to possibly become the head coach of the Colts and the head coach of the Texans. We see how good the Lions offense was, so that's what happened. Yep. So you got to be prepared for that. So we'll see, man. But Money Mick, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. And yeah, man, I think a lot of people, like, based on the chat and what I'm looking at, a lot of people agree with what you're saying. I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying. I just think that, people just gotta, man, like, I'm not trying to temper my expectations. I'm not trying to fit in your world. I'm just not. I'm not trying to make this thing work. If it don't work, it don't work. So why are we trying to sit up here and try to make it work? But I appreciate the call, man.
Hey, thank you, bro. You have a good one.
All right, you too. Yeah, man. I'm not in a business trying to make something work that ain't there. Yeah, that ain't it. That ain't it. You shouldn't do it. Like, I'm talking about life in general. Like, don't change your expectations to try to fit somebody else's. Like, if you have high expectations, don't try to minimize your high expectations to try to fit in the world with somebody else. I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to make nobody work that ain't working. Like Andy Dalton, yeah, he's serviceable. The key word is serviceable. Like, can you get more? Can you get more than what Andy Dalton gave you? With a quarterback, let's just keep it like, people like, man, he had another year into the system. You get a quarterback in free agency, you get a quarterback in the draft, and you get this guy to go through OTAs, minicamp. If he's a rookie minicamp, you get him going through all these different things. You telling me that you can't prepare him for the season, right? If you regardless, here's also what a lot of people aren't paying attention to. It's more likely that the Saints are going to get a new offensive coordinator. So guess what comes with a new offensive coordinator? A new playbook. So regardless if Andy Dalton is here, and regardless if Jameis Winston comes back, they're all going to have to fall in line and learn a new playbook. So this whole Andy Dalton, if he gets another year under his belt, not if you get a new coordinator. So you can find something better than that. You can find something better than that, folks. Expecting Dennis Allen to be a good head coach is like trying to cover a spot on a white wall with eggshell paint. Who that nation of Bucks had so many problems besides the quarterback, bad kicking game, bad defense, no good running game. The whole team was playing bad football, and they didn't have a winning mentality. Yeah, but they found their way into the playoffs because they had Tom Brady in certain situations. I'll call in another day, TJ. Everyone who called in on this day. Yeah, everybody, they had some good calls, man. And I like the fact that a lot of people put some things on everybody's mind. And I like how the chat kind of blew up when certain people said things they did agree with, they didn't agree with. That's good stuff. Like, it's all about commentary at the end of the day. You don't have to agree with what you're saying. What a person is saying. But, that's, like I said, that's what makes us different. It won't be a Tecmo Super Bowl playbook. We can tell you that. Well, sit down, hood. Like when you be playing Tecmo Bowl and you don't snap the ball, he'll just be saying hood. Ready, down, hood. Oh man, some of the young people like, man, what is Tecmo Bowl? But man, that was hilarious. Like your mama call you and something like that, you ain't even have to press pause. Like there was no play clock, nothing, right? Be like, boy, come in here and wash them dishes. Like, dang, it's gonna take about 10 minutes. That man been saying hood, he been saying hood. Come back. Oh man. Oh man, those were the days right there, man. But thank y'all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast on the State of the Saints podcast network. Once again, for those that just tuned in, we're no longer just the State of the Saints podcast. This YouTube channel is the State of the Saints podcast network. We're not only going to be doing State of the Saints podcast exclusively on this network anymore. We're going to be putting out other content coming up this week will be the premiere of the NFL show. That's going to be on this Saturday during Wild Card Weekend. Hope everybody joins in for that. We're also going to be doing a therapy couch. That's going to be premiering once again on this channel. I want to say probably by the end of the day. All right. So I'm not sure if I'm going to live stream that one or not. But keep it locked right here to the State of Saints Podcast Network YouTube channel. I'll let you know. But like I said, we're going to have different content on here. We're going to be coming out with different podcasts. And like I said, once these get together, I would love to start helping other people start their own podcasts and build on some things that they may be interested in. But that'll be later on down the line. But we're going to be adding 2 new podcasts to this channel. I know some people just want to, hear about the Saints. That's fine. But we're going to be giving other content for individuals that may be interested in hearing something a little bit different. All right. Shouts out to everybody that actually chimed in today. Shouts out to everybody that commented in the chat. Really do appreciate that. Previous episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. Check out the Facebook page, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints Podcast Network. And also you can follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is